He hired a wedding planner, then realized she was his ex-wife and mother of his son. When a wedding planner discovers her next client is her ex-husband, the same man who abandoned her years ago, never knowing she was pregnant with his child, she faces an impossible choice: reveal the son he never knew existed, or silently plan his wedding to another woman while keeping their shared past buried forever. For Kim, this isn't just another job. It's a collision of secrets, heartbreak, and unexpected second chances that will force her to confront the question no mother wants to answer. Does a man who walked away deserve to know he has a son? Kim was used to difficult clients. She was one of the most respected wedding planners in the city, and over the years, she had met all kinds of brides. Some nice, some rude, and some just plain crazy. But this morning, this one was different. "Thank God you're here," Patricia, her assistant, whispered as Kim walked through the glass doors of her office. "What happened?" Kim asked, dropping her handbag on the table. "It's your 9 o'clock appointment. She's a mess. Her dress is a disaster, her makeup is all over the place, and she won't stop talking," Patricia said, exasperated. "I think she's a time waster. I was about to call security to take her out." Kim raised an eyebrow. "Security? Patricia, we don't do that. I'll handle it." "Are you sure?" "I insist," Kim said firmly. She took a deep breath and walked into the conference room. Inside sat a loud, energetic woman named Arome. The moment Kim stepped in, Arome jumped to her feet, full of excitement. "Good morning, Miss Arome," Kim said politely. Good morning, nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you." Arome beamed. Likewise. So, over the phone you mentioned that you wanted a big wedding?" "Big? No, not just big, I said huge, the kind that will shut down the town." Arome clapped her hands dramatically. "I want this wedding to scatter everywhere. Let my enemies choke." Kim blinked. This was going to be a long meeting. Arome went on and on. She talked about how her so-called friends laughed at her for being unmarried, how they mocked her behind her back, how they said she would never find a man. "But God shamed them," Arome declared proudly. "Now I must shame them back with this wedding. I want people to be talking about it for weeks." "I understand," Kim said calmly. "What's your budget?" Arome didn't hesitate. 20 million naira. If you need more, just let me know. I have it." Patricia, who had been eavesdropping, almost fainted. Kim smiled. "You're in the right place. We'll give you a wedding they'll never forget." As the meeting ended, Kim walked out and gave Patricia a side glance. "You were about to kick out a client with a 20 million naira budget." Patricia's mouth hung open. I judged her by her looks," Kim nodded. "Lesson learned." Later that day, Mark stepped off the plane, holding hands with his fiancée Abby. He had been abroad for 7 years. He was finally back home. Abby was nervous. "I don't think your mom likes me." "Come on, babe. She'll love whoever I love," Mark said, squeezing her hand. "You have nothing to worry about." But Abby knew something wasn't right. When they arrived at Mark's family house, his mother welcomed them with fake smiles and cold eyes. Over dinner, she cut Abby off rudely whenever she tried to talk about their wedding plans. "I got us a wedding planner," Abby said cheerfully. Mark's mum rolled her eyes. "Try that chicken. It's better than your choice of a wife." "Mum, please," Mark warned. "I'm just saying there are better girls out there." Mark stood his ground. "Abby is my fiancée. If you love me, you'll accept her." Abby looked down, heart sinking. She had tried everything to impress Mark's mom, but it was never enough. The next day, Kim walked into her office to find a new booking. Abby had officially hired her to plan her wedding. When Kim walked into the meeting room to meet the bride, she froze. There was Mark, her ex-husband, and he froze too. They both stared at each other in shock. It had been 11 years since their brief marriage, a marriage that was ended by Mark's overbearing mother, who believed Kim wasn't good enough for her son. Abby, unaware of the history between them, smiled warmly and said, "Kim, meet my fiancé, Mark." Kim nodded, hiding her emotions behind a tight smile. "Nice to meet you." Later that day, Mark barged into Kim's office. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "You can't plan my wedding." "Why not? Kim asked, arms folded. Because we were married. That was over a decade ago. I'm a professional. This is just a job. Mark stared at her, frustrated. This is madness. Kim stayed calm. Then ask your fiancé to fire me. Mark walked out, conflicted. He knew Abby wouldn't. She had loved Kim's work from the start. But what he didn't know was that Kim was hiding a secret, a big one. She had a son, his son. And he didn't know anything about it. Kim locked her office door after Mark stormed out. Her hands were shaking. She sat at her desk and buried her face in her palms. What were the odds? After all these years, he had returned. And not just returned, he was marrying someone else. And she was now planning their wedding. It was almost funny. But the real problem wasn't Mark. It was Brian, their son. He was 11 years old, living in Canada with Kim's mother. He knew nothing about his father. And Mark knew nothing about him. Kim never told anyone. Not because she wanted to hide it, but because when Mark's mother destroyed their marriage, she also shattered Kim's trust in that entire family. Back then, Kim had been a young woman from a humble home. Mark's mom never accepted her. She insulted her, humiliated her in front of people, and finally pressured Mark into leaving her. He didn't even fight for them. So, when Kim found out she was pregnant a few weeks later, she quietly left town and never looked back. But now, everything was coming back. Abby was excited. She didn't know anything about Kim and Mark's history. All she knew was that Kim was the best in the business. After one of their planning sessions, Abby walked out, humming a tune, completely oblivious to the tension between her fiancé and their planner. Mark, however, was not so composed. At home, he sat quietly on the edge of the bed while Abby scrolled through Instagram. "You've been quiet lately," she said. "I'm just tired. Long day," he muttered. He thought about telling her the truth. Maybe if she knew Kim was his ex, they could replace her. Maybe this could all go away, but he said nothing. Later that night, he drove alone to Kim's office again. She was still working late, as usual. "Mark," she said coldly when she saw him. "What now? We need to talk?" "There's nothing to talk about. I'm doing my job." "Why didn't you tell her?" he asked. Kim raised an eyebrow. "Tell who?" "Abby. She's your fiancée. It's your responsibility to tell her, not mine." He sat down, rubbing his temples. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" Kim looked at him like he was a stranger. "Do you really think I want to be in this situation? You hired me without knowing who I was. I need this job. I've worked too hard to build my reputation." Mark stared at her. "Is that all you have to say?" Kim hesitated. Part of her wanted to scream at him. Part of her wanted to break down and tell him about Brian, but not like this. "Just let me do my job," she said quietly. He nodded and left. The next morning, Mark's mother visited Kim at her office, unannounced. She strolled in like she owned the place. Kim was shocked to see her. "Mum, what are you doing here?" "Oh, please," the woman waved her off. "Enough with the formalities. I came to talk to you, woman to woman." Kim braced herself. "You see, that girl, Abby, is not right for my son. She's loud, disrespectful, and not classy enough. But you're different." Kim almost laughed. This woman who destroyed her marriage was now sitting in her office, complimenting her. "I've seen the way Mark looks at you," she continued. "It's obvious he still has feelings for you. If you play your cards right, I can support you two getting back together." Kim shook her head. "I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen." The woman frowned. "Why not?" "Because I'm not interested in being part of your games. I'm doing my job, that's all." "Suit yourself," she said, standing up. "But remember, I always get what I want." Meanwhile, Abby was beginning to sense something strange. Mark had become distant. He barely talked during planning meetings. He avoided looking Kim in the eyes. The energy was weird. One evening, she brought it up. "Babe, is there something you're not telling me?" "What do you mean? You've been acting strange. It's like you and the planner know each other or something." Mark swallowed hard. "It's nothing. I'm just tired from work." But Abby's instincts were strong. That night she went through Mark's phone. Nothing. No messages, no photos. Still, something didn't feel right. Later that week, during a planning meeting, things exploded. Abby had chosen some colour palettes for the wedding. Kim politely suggested a few alternatives. Mark, who had barely said a word, suddenly snapped. "These colours are terrible. I don't like any of them." Abby was surprised. "Babe, what's going on? She's just doing her job." Mark stood up. "We're changing planners." "What?" Abby gasped. "I said we're changing planners. I don't want her handling our wedding anymore." "Why?" He didn't answer. Abby turned to Kim. "Do you know what's going on?" Kim's voice was calm but firm. "Maybe you should ask him." Abby turned to Mark. "Tell me now. What's happening?" There was a long pause. Finally, Mark said, "Kim and I used to be married." Silence. "What?" Abby whispered. "It was brief. A long time ago. Before I travelled abroad." Abby's face turned red. "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" "I was going to tell you, but you didn't. You let your ex-wife plan my wedding. I didn't know it was her at first. And you still let her stay." "I tried to get her replaced," he said. "You insisted on keeping her." Abby grabbed her bag and walked out, furious. Back at Kim's apartment, she sat alone on the couch, staring at her phone. She dialed a number. "Hi, Mum, is Brian still awake?" "Yes," her mother replied. "Please tell him. His dad wants to meet him." Mark hadn't slept all night. He sat in his car in front of Kim's apartment, hands tight on the steering wheel. Everything was a mess. Abby had stormed out. His mother was acting strange. And Kim had returned into his life like a storm. He got out of the car and climbed the stairs slowly. When Kim opened the door, she didn't look surprised. "I was expecting you," she said. Mark stepped inside, but she didn't invite him to sit. "I need to know something," he said. "Go ahead." Kim hesitated, her eyes softened. Maybe it was finally time. Do you remember what happened after our breakup?" she asked quietly. He looked confused. "I tried to move on." "Well, I couldn't," she said, "because I was pregnant." Mark's eyes widened. "What? I found out I was pregnant after you left, after your mother destroyed everything." He stared at her in disbelief. "You had a child?" She nodded. "A boy. His name is Brian." Mark sat down slowly, as if the floor had been pulled from beneath him. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You didn't fight for me, Mark. You left me when I needed you most. I couldn't trust you. I couldn't trust your family. I was alone." "Where is he?" he asked, standing up suddenly. "In Canada, with my mom. He's safe, happy, and smart. He knows he has a dad, but I never told him your name." Mark walked over to the window, breathing hard. Can I talk to him?" Kim hesitated. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" "I need to know him. I missed 11 years. I want to at least try." She walked to her laptop and opened a video call. After a few seconds, a young boy's face popped up on the screen. "Hi, Mummy." "Hi, honey. There's someone here who wants to talk to you." Brian looked curious. "Who?" Kim moved the laptop slightly so Mark's face came into view. "Hi," Mark said, his voice shaking. I'm your dad." Brian stared at him. "Really?" "Yes, I'm sorry I haven't been around, but I want to be in your life now, if that's okay." Brian smiled shyly. "Okay." Mark's eyes filled with tears. At home, Abby stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her phone buzzed. It was Tito, her childhood friend. "Come over," she texted. Minutes later, Tito was at her door with 2 bottles of wine. "What happened this time?" he asked. Abby poured herself a drink. "My fiancé's wedding planner is his ex-wife." Tito almost choked on his drink. "No way! And she has a child, with him." Tito sat down, stunned. "And he never told you?" "Nope. I hate to say this, but I told you his mum never liked you. Maybe this was her plan all along." Abby sipped her wine. "I've done everything to be the perfect wife-to-be. I've planned the perfect wedding, and still I'm not enough." She looked at Tito. "Do you think I'm crazy?" "No," Tito said. Then he leaned in and kissed her. For a moment, she didn't pull away. The next morning, Mark's mum walked into Kim's office again. She had a different tone this time, almost soft. "Can I see a photo of him?" she asked. Kim handed her a printed picture of Brian. The woman stared at it for a long time. "He looks like Mark," she whispered. "Why didn't you tell us?" Kim folded her arms. "You really need to ask that. After what you did to me, you called me names, you chased me out of your house, you humiliated my mother." "I was trying to protect my son." "No, you were trying to control him." The woman sighed. "Maybe I was wrong." Kim said nothing. "I want to meet him," she said. Kim shook her head. "He lives in Canada." "Then arrange a video call. I want to see my grandson." Kim didn't say yes or no. The woman stood up. "Whether you believe it or not, I do want to make things right." She left, and Kim sat back in her chair, wondering if she could trust her. That evening, Mark stood in front of Abby's door, flowers in hand. She opened the door slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "Good. I don't have the strength. I just want to say I'm sorry. I should have told you everything from the start." Abby crossed her arms. "Do you love her?" Mark looked her in the eyes. "I love my son. Kim and I are not getting back together." "But you have a connection, one I can't compete with." "It's not a competition." "It feels like one." Abby turned away. "Mark, I can't mother another woman's child. I just can't." "Then maybe we shouldn't be together." There was a long silence. "Maybe not," she whispered. Back at Kim's place, she was finishing a call with Brian. "Okay, baby. Go do your homework," she said. He waved. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad." "Bye, son," Mark said. As the call ended, Kim turned to him. "He really likes you," Mark smiled. "He's amazing." "I still can't believe this is happening," she said. "Us co-parenting." "I'm not here to complicate your life, Kim," he said. "I just want to be a father." She looked at him, "Then be one." Mark stood up to leave. "Let's take it one step at a time." Abby sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her packed suitcase. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Mark walked in just as she zipped the final bag. "Are you leaving?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded without looking at him. "I can't do this, Mark." He took a step closer. "Abby, please, let's talk." "I don't want to talk anymore," she said sharply. "You hid something huge from me, and now you expect me to just adjust and play mother to your child." "I didn't expect that," he said. "I just wanted honesty, a chance." Abby shook her head. "A chance? You had one. You didn't tell me she was your ex. You didn't tell me she was your wife. And a baby, Mark? You hid a whole child." Mark sighed. "I didn't know. I only just found out about Brian." "But you knew about Kim, and you still let her plan our wedding." She looked him straight in the eyes. "You let me walk into that mess blind." "I didn't mean for it to happen this way." She picked up her bag. "I slept with Tito." Mark froze. "What?" I was angry, confused, hurt. It was a mistake. He took a deep breath, looking like he'd just been punched in the chest. "But you should know this," Abby added. "I may have made a mistake, but I still respected you enough to want the truth." Mark didn't say anything. He watched her walk out the door, and just like that, the wedding was off. The next day, Kim was back at work like nothing had happened. She focused on her client files, rearranged floral samples, and avoided anything that reminded her of Mark. But inside, she was exhausted. Her emotions were all over the place. Guilt for not telling Mark earlier, fear for what his mother might do next, and confusion about where all of this was heading. Patricia, her assistant, walked in with a raised eyebrow. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Kim looked up and sighed. "I'm trying to hold everything together." "Did something happen?" Kim hesitated. Then she said it. "Mark is Brian's father." Patricia's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" Kim nodded. "I never told him until recently." "Oh my God, Kim, that's huge." "Yeah, now everything's coming out. Abby left him. His mother is pretending to like me. I don't even know what's real anymore." Patricia shook her head. "This isn't just wedding planning anymore. This is your life." "I know," Kim said, "and I don't want to mess it up again." That evening, Mark showed up again at Kim's apartment. This time he looked tired. Not angry, not confused, just tired. I just came from Abby's, he said as Kim opened the door. She left. He nodded. Took her bags. Said she can't do it. Kim stepped aside and let him in. I'm not here to blame you, he said. This was my fault. I handled everything wrong. She stayed quiet. I just want to do what's right now for Brian. She finally sat beside him. He really likes talking to you. I like talking to him too, Mark said with a small smile. He's funny, smart. He asked if I knew how to play baseball. Kim laughed. He's obsessed with it. There was a silence between them. Then Mark turned serious. I want to be there for him, really be there, not just video calls. Kim looked down. He lives in Canada. Then I'll visit. I'll fly down, attend his school events, talk to his teachers, whatever it takes. She stared at him. You're really serious about this? Mark nodded. Dead serious. Meanwhile, Mark's mother was facing her own guilt. For years, she had believed she was protecting her son from the wrong girl. But now she realized something. Maybe she had been the wrong one all along. She sat in her room holding a photo of young Mark. She whispered, What have I done? Then, for the first time in her life, she picked up her phone and dialed Kim's mother's number. Hello? Good evening, Ma. This is Mrs. Benson, Mark's mother. There was silence on the other end. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I want to say I'm sorry for everything. Kim's mother didn't respond right away. Then she said, It's been over 10 years. I know, and every year that passed I told myself I did the right thing, but now I see I was wrong. Kim's mother sighed. That's good to hear, but I forgave you a long time ago. Mrs. Benson's voice cracked. Thank you very much. Back at Kim's office, things were slowly returning to normal. She was working on another client's event, trying to stay busy. Mark dropped by unexpectedly. I brought lunch, he said, holding up a takeaway bag. Kim smiled a little. You're trying to bribe me? No, just trying to be around and maybe spend a few minutes with you. She hesitated. We can't go back, Mark. I know. I'm not ready for anything. I understand, but I do want us to be friends. He smiled. That's a good start. That evening, as Kim lay in bed, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark. Brian just sent me a drawing. He drew me, you and him. He wrote, my family. Kim stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, He's not wrong. Kim arrived at the wedding venue early on Saturday morning. The bride, Arome, the client from hell who turned out to be the most grateful, was finally getting her dream wedding. It had been weeks of planning, tears, and last-minute changes, but everything had come together. White drapes hung from the ceiling, roses in gold vases lined the aisle. A live band was doing sound checks in the corner. Kim checked every detail personally. She didn't want anything to go wrong. By 6:30 a.m., vendors had started arriving. Food was being prepared. Drinks were chilled. The lighting crew was doing final adjustments. Everything was on track. Arome arrived in a diamond-studded gown, beaming with joy. Kim, you made my dreams come true, thank you. Kim smiled. You did it. I just helped bring it to life. For a moment, Kim forgot all her worries. It felt good to do what she loved, to see someone happy. Later that afternoon, while her team was packing up, Kim noticed someone at the entrance. Mrs. Benson. Kim's heart dropped. The older woman looked different. She wasn't dressed in her usual fancy clothes, no makeup, just simple and calm. Kim walked over. Good afternoon, ma'am. I didn't come to fight, Mrs. Benson said. Then why are you here? I came to apologize. Kim was stunned. I was terrible to you. I judged you unfairly. I destroyed something beautiful between you and my son, and for that, I'm deeply sorry. Kim was silent. I also want to thank you for raising such a fine boy. Brian is smart, well-spoken, and kind. That's because of you. Kim nodded slowly. Thank you. Mrs. Benson hesitated. I know it will take time to earn your forgiveness, but if you could find it in your heart, please forgive me. I already did, Kim said. Mrs. Benson looked surprised. You did? I can't carry anger forever. It would only hurt me. So yes, I forgave you a long time ago. The older woman wiped her eyes. Thank you. Also, I would love to have your mother's number. I owe her an apology too. Kim gave a small smile. She'll be surprised. Let her be, Mrs. Benson said, laughing gently. It's time I make peace with my past. The next few days brought a calm that Kim hadn't felt in a long time. Brian's video calls became more frequent. He and Mark talked like old friends. They laughed, played guessing games, even talked about what Mark would do when he came to visit. One evening, as they ended a call, Brian said something that made Kim pause. Mummy, will Daddy ever live with us? Kim didn't know what to say. I don't know, baby, we'll see. After the call, she sat quietly in her room. That question hung in the air. Was it even possible? The next afternoon, Kim was at her office when Mark walked in. He held a wrapped gift box. It's for you. What is it? She asked. Open it. Inside was a framed drawing, one of Brian's sketches. It was a picture of the three of them, Kim, Mark and Brian. Above it, Brian had written, My family. Kim held the frame speechless. He drew it for us, Mark said he wanted something to remind us we're a team. Kim smiled. He's really something. Mark nodded. So are you. There was a pause. Kim, Mark continued, I know we said we're just co-parenting, and I respect that, but I want to do more. I want to be present, physically, emotionally, everything. Kim looked at him. You already are. Mark stepped closer. But maybe one day we could be more than just parents. Kim looked away. I don't know, my focus right now is Brian and my work. I understand, no pressure, but I do enjoy spending time with you, she admitted. He smiled. That's enough for now. Meanwhile, Abby sat at her friend's apartment scrolling through photos of what was supposed to be her wedding. Tito walked in with 2 cups of tea. You okay? I don't know, Abby said. Some days I feel fine. Other days I feel like I ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything, you just found out the truth. I shouldn't have slept with you, she said bluntly. Tito nodded. It happened. You were hurting, I was there. But I won't pressure you. Thank you for not judging me. Always, Tito said. But you need to move on. Mark's not your story anymore. Abby nodded slowly. Yeah, I know. The next week, Mark came by Kim's house for dinner. Brian was on a video call, showing him his art project. You used orange instead of red? Mark asked. I didn't have red, Brian laughed. Mark nodded like a serious coach. We'll fix that when I visit. I'll bring you a full box of colours. Kim smiled, watching them. For the first time, it felt natural, like family. After the call, Kim walked Mark to the door. He turned before leaving. Can I take you out sometime? Kim hesitated. I won't call it a date, he said. Just 2 old friends catching up. She smiled. All right, but I'm picking the place. Deal. Mark arrived at Kim's apartment the following Saturday, wearing a casual shirt, holding a small brown picnic basket. Kim raised an eyebrow when she opened the door. What's all this? You said we could go out. I decided to make it a little more fun. I meant lunch, like a normal outing, Kim said, amused. Mark grinned. I don't do normal anymore, let's go. They drove to a quiet park on the edge of the city. Grassy fields, a small lake. Kids playing in the distance, the kind of peaceful place Kim hadn't visited in years. Mark laid down a mat and opened the basket. Jollof rice, grilled chicken, puff puffs, and a bottle of chilled Zobo. You cooked? Kim asked, surprised. Don't laugh. I took lessons from YouTube and my mum. Kim smiled. This should be interesting. As they ate, they talked. Not about the past, not about Brian, but about ordinary things. Music, food, what it felt like turning 30, their careers. For once, there was no tension. You remember that one night years ago? Mark said, when Nepa took light during our honeymoon and we lit all the candles in the house. Kim laughed. You accidentally set your boxes on fire. Mark laughed too. That was the fastest I've ever moved in my life. They both laughed harder. It felt good, natural, like they had gone back to being friends, but with the wisdom of all they'd been through. Kim looked at him, a little softer. "You've changed." Mark nodded. "I had to. Life forced me to grow up. Losing you was part of that." The mood turned quiet again. Kim looked away. "Let's not ruin a good day." Mark reached into the basket and pulled out a small folded paper. "What's this?" "A drawing. Brian made it this morning. It's you, him, and me." Kim opened it carefully. Her chest tightened. Above the picture, Brian had written in crayon, "My happy place." She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Mark stood up and stretched. "Come on, let's walk." They walked around the lake in silence. Then Mark said, "Can I ask something a bit forward?" Kim raised a brow. "You've already taken me on a surprise picnic. How worse can it get?" "Do you ever think we were supposed to find our way back?" Kim stopped walking. "I mean," he continued, "after everything, what if this us was meant to happen, just not at the time we first tried?" Kim looked at the water. "Maybe. Or maybe we're just two people trying to fix what life broke." He didn't push it. Fair enough. That evening, as Kim walked back into her apartment, her phone buzzed. It was a voice note from Brian. "Hi, Mummy. I had a dream. You, me and Daddy were all in the same house. It was nice. Love you." Kim closed her eyes. She wanted that too, but she was scared of being hurt again, scared that everything could fall apart. Still, her heart was opening. Meanwhile, Mark's mother stood in front of her mirror, rehearsing lines. She was about to visit Kim's mom. She held a basket of fruit and a small wrapped gift. When Kim's mom opened the door, there was a long silence. I came to say sorry," Mrs. Benson said, "for everything." Kim's mom stepped aside without a word. "Come in." They sat awkwardly for a few minutes. Then Mrs. Benson placed the basket on the table. "I was wrong. About your daughter. About everything." "You were," Kim's mother replied, "but it's never too late to make things right." Mrs. Benson's shoulders relaxed. "Thank you for raising Brian. He's an amazing boy." They talked for almost an hour. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Back at Kim's office, her team was preparing for another high-profile wedding. Patricia noticed Kim humming. "You're in a good mood," Patricia said. "I am." "What changed?" Kim paused. "Nothing yet, but maybe. Something is starting to." Patricia smirked. "This something, does it have muscles and a charming smile?" Kim rolled her eyes. "Mind your business." Later that night, Mark called Kim. "I know this is random, but I'm free next weekend. Want to do dinner?" Kim smiled at her phone. "What's the dress code?" "Anything but a wedding gown," he joked. She laughed. "All right, I'll be there." As they both hung up, neither said it out loud, but they were thinking the same thing. Maybe love doesn't always come easy. Maybe sometimes it leaves. But sometimes it comes back. The house was unusually quiet that Saturday morning. Kim stepped out of the bathroom, still in her robe, hair wrapped, expecting to enjoy a peaceful weekend. Then she heard voices, faint, whispering, and giggling. "Brian!" she called out. No response. She walked toward the living room and found no one. Her phone had been moved. Her shoes were gone from the doorway. "What is going on here?" she mumbled. Before she could investigate further, the doorbell rang. She opened it and froze. There stood Mark, dressed in a clean suit, holding a bouquet of white lilies and smiling nervously. Beside him was Brian, holding a tiny ring box. "Good morning," Mark said. What is this?" Mark stepped aside. Behind him, a small crowd of familiar faces had gathered. Patricia, Kim's mother, even Mrs. Benson. There were flower petals on the floor, candles arranged in a heart shape on the ground. Kim stood frozen. Mark knelt down. "Kim, we were kids in love. We made mistakes. I hurt you, but I never stopped loving you. And now I know what matters. Our family." Brian stepped forward and opened the ring box. "Mummy, will you marry Daddy?" he said in the smallest, sweetest voice. Kim's eyes filled with tears. She looked at her son, then at Mark. "Yes," she whispered. Mark stood up and placed the ring on her finger. Everyone clapped. Brian jumped up and hugged both of them. Kim laughed through her tears. "You two planned this?" Brian grinned. "I told Daddy what you liked. He did the rest." A few days later, the family sat in the garden of Kim's mother's house. No stress, no drama, just food, music, and laughter. Mrs. Benson sat beside Kim's mom, both of them, watching Brian play with the neighbor's kids. "You know," Mrs. Benson said, "this boy might be the bridge that fixed all of us." Kim's mother nodded. "Sometimes children heal what adults break." That evening, Kim and Mark sat on the porch, watching the sunset. "We've come a long way," Kim said. "We really have." "I never thought we'd get here." "Me neither," Mark said. "But I'm glad we did." Kim leaned on his shoulder. "You think Brian will remember all this when he grows up?" she asked. "I hope so. But even if he doesn't, he'll know one thing. His parents loved him enough to fight their way back to each other." Kim smiled. A few weeks later, Brian held a crayon drawing and ran into the living room. "Mommy, Daddy, look!" They looked at the paper. It was a picture of their house, 3 people standing outside. Above them, in bold, colourful letters, it read, "Home." The end. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the story so far, please drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you won't miss any updates.